Well, Kelvin, you have done an unbelievable job at Houston. I'm old enough to remember the post Phi Slamma Jamma era of Houston where it was a little stagnant for a while and it needed some energy, some passion, some love to get it back. And now you've brought it to a national level on a consistent basis. How'd you do it?
Well, everybody talks about your vision. It cannot start with your vision. They've got to believe in the person first. I think having the right leader that can push the envelope without pushing it off the ledge. And I learned how to push over the years. I just thought that everything from a thought process to a maybe understanding process was just wallowing in mediocrity. And it was just, as far as you could see, it was not going to change. Everything from marketing to facilities to everything. But every athletic director I've had, and also our chancellor or our president, Renew Couture, I think back, they never said no to me on anything. And I really, really pushed those facilities. And I was very persistent to the point where if something was supposed to be done this week and it wasn't, then I'd call Hunter Yurchek, who was Mac Rhodes' assistant. Now, Mac's now the AD at Baylor and Hunter's the AD at Arkansas. But those two guys is the one got it started. I remember taking pictures of the construction fence. And then when the construction fence came down, and all of a sudden here comes the raising of the first floor. I remember signing one of the platforms that's inside the building. And then, just pushing and pushing and pushing. We need better this. We need better this. We've got a charter. I remember that first or second, or maybe it's the first year or second year, we were going to East Carolina. We left on a Tuesday, played on Wednesday night, was in the airport Thursday morning, and got bogged in. We were supposed to leave at 7:05. We didn't leave until 6:30 that evening. So we missed 3 days of classes, and I said, this is unacceptable. We want to win, but we've got to invest. And so I remember just being so mad that our kids had to endure that, especially the young kids, because we're on about don't miss class. You got to do this, academics, and we were just behind the eight ball. But I'll say this: I never asked for anything that they didn't give us, whether it was facilities, training table. It's almost like starting a brand new program. We were an expansion team, and we just raised the level of everything around the program. And I was fortunate to have an administration that believed in me, and having a great staff that has stayed together, I think, has been our secret sauce. And it's been incredible. It's been fun, but I think along the way, I don't think we've done anything that we didn't feel like we were going to do.
Obviously, you had a couple of brand name jobs in Indiana, Oklahoma, but the Washington State, Houston, to me, are challenges that you were successful at, which is also in your DNA, to take on a challenge, to have your teams take on the challenge, to work harder, to defend. How much does that run through your personality, your own sort of motto that then translates to your players?
I think a lot of coaches fail early in their careers because a lot of them were born on third base and think they hit a triple. And I wasn't even in the parking lot. My dad was a 30-plus year high school coach in North Carolina. My mom worked 12-hour shifts as a nurse when I was younger. My grandparents, I don't think any of them got past the 6th grade. So I always had this huge chip on my shoulder. Guys that came from places like I did at that point in time. Remember, I was born in 1955. So in 65, I understood what segregation was. I knew what that was. I think where we come from and the experiences that we've had shape our lives about who we are going forward. And I think that's always been part of my DNA, is the chip I've had on my shoulder. And I've tried as hard as I could to take that chip and put it on my team's shoulder. And I don't ever let them forget where we come from, our darkest days. And that's each team, like June, whether it's getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and running 1,800-yard sprints on the baseball field before the sun comes up, and guys throwing up or guys wanting to quit. Those are your lowest moments. And then once we get them to those moments, I don't let them forget them. That's where you came from. Look where you are now, but don't forget those moments. So as the season progresses, every player writes his own book, just like every team has its own chapter in that book. So for us, it starts with the chip on our shoulder, making sure that it stays in our DNA, and that's how we build our culture. They all come in with a scrapbook. We tell them to take their scrapbook and throw it in the incinerator. Everybody's got a scrapbook, man. I'm not interested in, I was this, I was this star, I got recruited by this school. Nobody cares. That's irrelevant. What does that matter? You're part of something bigger than yourself now, and injecting them with that. Just putting that needle in their vein and making sure they understand that's who we are, but that's also why they come. It's not like we're not on TV or people don't write about our program. The thing I've noticed about recruiting now is the involvement of the dads. 20 years ago, it was just the moms, and the moms were being sometimes manipulated by an outside influence that had ulterior motives, maybe. But now the dads are more involved, and I think that's helping the kids make better decisions.
Going back to that DNA of a champion, you've won multiple conference championships, various spots, been to multiple Final Fours. How do you build a championship roster?
By knowing what you're doing and what you're looking for and how you want to do it. People think of recruiting as an umbrella. I think evaluation is more important. This is my 10th year at University of Houston. Now think about the era that we're in now. When people think about the two things that impact college basketball, they're either talking about NIL or transfer portal. Well, every team has a top 10 players, right? Your top 10. Well, in our top 10 players over 9 years, we've had 2 kids transfer. That's it, 2. And when you look back at that, you say, well, you guys have been lucky. Maybe, but also that says a lot about evaluation. And that's we recruit kids that we're brutally honest with. We like to bring them in when they can watch practice, and we don't put on a show for them. We don't make it an offensive day or a high energy day. We practice. Now you have to decide. Instead of taking them on a boat ride or taking them to a Major League Baseball game, we take them to practice, and then they have to decide. People ask me, Jarris Walker's a good example, recruiting Jarris Walker. At no point in Jarris Walker's recruitment did NIL ever come up. I'm not even sure if he even got NIL. And that sounds kind of naive on my part, but that's the truth. I think he got it from, whoever his agents, marketing people, they all have that now. But I think evaluating the kids that can fit, that want to be coached, that want to improve, want to get better, and then the success of the program helps us recruit. We've had 4 kids drafted in the NBA. If things shake right this year with 2 ways, we could have 6 guys in the NBA this year. Think about that, 6. That's why we're winning, because we got really good players. But our assistant coaches do an awesome job evaluating, because they're all in their 9th year or 10th year. Now Quantas, I think, is the 7th, but Kellen and Hollis and KC are all in their 10th year. So they know exactly how our system works. They know the kids that will survive. the kids that will thrive, and that helps. I mean, our everybody has a system. You know, what is a system? A system is the way you coach, the way you play, the way you demand. You know, and the best cultures come from the coaching staffs that are the best demanders. That there's certain non-negotiables. You know, we're not going to sit down and talk about this, son. This is the way it's done, and we expect this effort. And those eventually will be called standards. So standards, accountability, and then we've raised our expectations. Now everybody else's expectations, that's on you. But here's our expectations, and our expectation is probably a little bit higher than most people's. We don't talk about them, but those are the things. We practiced this morning at 6 o'clock. You know, probably our best practice last 6 or 7 days. But that's because our standards are raising. Our kids are holding each other accountable now, and that's when you know you've got a great program.
I think you're a Hall of Famer. I'm not alone in this view. You've had a Hall of Fame career. What do you think your legacy is on this game?
I would hope that when it's all said and done, that I valued the game, helping people, and not just the players. I love helping assistant coaches. You know, I do. I have a ton of coaching staffs that come by practice that want to see how we do this or do that. I never say no. I don't have any secrets. You know, I'm not smart enough or innovative enough to come up with any kind of original idea. We do what we do, you know, and I love sharing it. I love helping, answering questions. So, you know, I would hope my impact on the game was that. I just tried to help people in any way I could.
This team, led by Jamal, has the pieces again. He's one of the best defenders in the country, and you've preached that, you recruit that. What will this team look like led by him?
Well, Jamal Shead is a tough kid. You know, first of all, this is our 10th year, and we've only had 3 point guards. 10 years, we've had 3 point guards: Galen Robinson, Dejan Giroux, Jamal Shead. That's it. And they've all had their share of adversity. They've all had their share of failure. And I think all those adverse experiences has made them who they are. They have to earn the right to be a leader. You know, you don't get to lead on days you feel good or when the spirit moves you. Leaders are consistent, and they find a way to get the best out of other people. Now, one of the things that I've had to do with kids in my leadership positions is teach them how to talk to each other. You know, like we have some kids that may have to have a softer touch. So when things aren't going for him, don't follow. If I'm barking at him, don't follow up my bark with your bark. You know, you may have to have a softer hand. Whereas one-on-one or back in the dorms or the apartments these guys live in, you know, pull them aside and talk to them. We talk about the relationship building that has to be real. I think the best programs have the best interior relationships, whether it's coaches with players, coaches with coaches, players with players. You know, those relationships, you know, in the last 6 or 7 years, you can research this, or Jeff can, we've lost 4 starters every year. Except last year, we lost 3. We lost Tremont Mark, Jarris Walker, Marcus Sasser. But prior to that, for 5 straight years, we lost 4 starters every year. So we're used to having to start over with a brand new team. And that's where the kids coming back. And sometimes we may only have 3 or 4 kids coming back. But they believe so strongly in our culture and the relationship building that they have, that they defend it. And that's one of the things that makes me feel the best, is when I can hear things in practice. You know, you can always hear a good team. The bad teams you never hear. They don't ever talk. They don't talk to each other. They don't talk on defense. They don't talk in transition, body language, all that stuff. You know, part of team building is teaching them how to respond to missed shots. You can't let a missed shot bother you in transition defense. You can't let a missed shot impact your effort going to the boards. So it all comes down to getting kids to play, push them to in ways to places they'll never do themselves. And that's what Jamal's grown in. All our point guards have been elite in that area. If Dejan Giroux had told Quentin Grimes or Fabian White or any of those guys, Justin Gorham, to run through a brick wall, they'd look at Dejan and said, "Dejan, can I get a run to start?" Now when he first got there, he wouldn't run through a brick wall for nobody, much less demanded of somebody else. But that's part of the DNA of our point guards, is understanding the impact that a leader has. But how do you lead? It's one of those words that's thrown out. It's like follow through. From an early age, coaches will say, follow through. But what does that mean? What do you mean follow through? What do you mean leader? And those are things that have to be discussed, pointed out daily. I'm always evaluating my leaders. Now, Jamal, last year, I didn't think was a great leader. And I think this impacted college basketball players all around the country, is how to deal with NIL, because it impacted your life. You have things that you've never had, and now that changed your life. Okay, but did it change you? Your life may change, but you can't change. And so I think we've all had to deal with that impact. But Jamal's come out on the other side of that, and I can't tell you how proud I am of him. I'm really, really proud of Jamal. He's bought in. And once you do that, that means you've surrendered.
One last thing. You mentioned at the beginning, Big 12. You've been in it before. This is a big deal for Houston to get to this point now in the Big 12. What does it mean to the University of Houston?
It's huge, Andy. Our school was investing and investing and investing, and I'm not sure at some point they weren't saying investing for what. We had a little bit of a treadmill effect. We're working our tail off. We're sweating. We're crazy. But when we stopped running, we're still in the same place. And that was tough. It's like you keep invested in the stock market. You're buying this, you're buying that, buying that. Okay, how did we do this month? We made $20. Whereas you got these people down the road, they're doing the same thing we're doing, but they made $40 million. Wait a minute now. So from a media rights standpoint, it means everything. It gives you credibility. It gives you viability. It gives you respect. It's all those things. It makes the alumni stick their chest out. I've seen that. I was in the original Big 8 before any of the 4 Texas schools came in. And then I remember the first year, it was different. Going from playing, Nebraska, Kansas State, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma State, who am I missing? Colorado. Yep. And all of a sudden now there's 4 more people that moved into the houses next door. And so, we got this little weekend street festival, and now there's new faces there. We don't know them. But all of a sudden now, after, 30 years, 27 years, I think, since the inception of the Big 12, now here comes 4 more. You're losing, these 2 moved to another street, and here comes 4 more on. But that's college basketball is evolving. But we needed this. The university needed it. We have a dynamic president, President Couture, who greatest strength is her pride in her school. And she has people that absolutely adore her and worship her. And she's a shining light for our university. Tillman Fertitta. There's no way our basketball program could be where it is right now without his financial support for the facilities. It's given us a chance. But one thing I've always said, though, Andy, is facilities don't win games. It's the people that walk through those doors that do. And I think that's where our university is going to be ready to go. Now, we're not going to move. I mean, I was in this league for 12 years, and I don't think the league has changed that much at the top. I remember Kansas went to the Final Four. Oklahoma State went to the Final Four. Oklahoma went to the Final Four. Texas went to the Final Four. Missouri damn good. Texas Tech had Coach Knight. So it was really good. The difference is top to bottom. The bottom those 12 years is not as good as whatever. I don't even know what the bottom is. Those schools seem like the top to me. But that's the biggest difference. In the depth of how many good players. It used to be when I grew up, everybody wanted to go play in the ACC. Well, there's not one conference that is like the old ACC. We're all the old ACC now. The Big Ten is, the SEC is, the Big 12 is, and then you still have the powers, North Carolina, Duke. But I think that's how college basketball has grown. It's not the college basketball you grew up with. And the fact that the University of Houston is in the conversation now. Now, we're in the door, but we have to now double down. That's how we're going to survive. We have to double down. Instead of having a $100 million fundraiser or money-making plan, that's got to be $300 million. Because that's the neighborhood we're living in. We moved across the tracks now. And once you cross the tracks, you better adjust to your environment. And I think we're ready to do that.